Oh yeah, it's a brand new day here on Three Things with JR. Welcome back. This is episode number 60. That seems like a milestone, although 60 doesn't seem like quite a round enough number to celebrate it, so we're just going to move on. I do have a special guest on the show this week. His name is Garrett Hall. Most of my regular listeners will have no idea who that is, and that's kind of the point. I was looking through Facebook, figuring out who can I call. I tried a couple people. They didn't answer. I tried this guy. He didn't answer either. And then he did, and then it sounded like he was driving, and he hung right up and didn't say anything. And then he texted me and says, "Hey, I'm walking my dog. I'll call you back in 15 minutes. I said, okay, and he did. He had no idea that I was going to put him on my show. But yeah, that's what happened. He called me back, and I sprung it on him, and he was game to do it. And there you go. We talked for a good little while. His name is Garrett Hall. He's a comedian in Las Vegas. He runs a couple different shows. The very first open mic I ever did in Las Vegas was his show at Noreen's, a sort of a seedy little joint, nowhere near the Strip or downtown or anything like that. It's just out on some highway, and it was a great place. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then the next year when I came back, I rang him up, and he paid me to do one of the feature spots at Noreen's. And so this dude is an amazing guy. Booked me for my first ever gig in Vegas. How cool is that? So yeah, he's also in the Air Force. So an Air Force guy doing a similar job to what my stepson Chester does. My stepson Chester works on airplanes. Garrett Hall works on helicopters. And these are fun dudes, man. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to him. I think I say that every time, but I really mean it. I really have fun talking to these people that are, for me to call you on one of these, ooh, that was a good one. For me to call you for my show, the way it's worked out is you kind of have to be somebody that I haven't spoken to or caught up with in a long time for whatever reason. And I haven't. I barely know this guy, really. As far as, like, we've never had a heart-to-heart conversation. Like, we've seen each other, he's booked me, we've said hey, we've chatted over a cigarette outside of the bar, that kind of stuff, and that's it. And for him to remember who I was, to book me on a show, and to agree to do this podcast just makes my heart warm, and I really did have a good time talking to him, so I hope you enjoy listening to that. Before we get into that, I've got three things of my own for you, so let's dive right in.
Thing number one.
25 years. I am currently 4 days into my 26th year of employment at Crutchfield Corporation. June 3rd, last week was June 3rd was my anniversary date, and so I have completed 25 years of work. It's the longest I've done anything. I've been at that job longer than I've been a parent of, at least of my daughter. I mean, I guess I was a parent of Chester, my stepson, before that, so maybe Chester a little bit longer, but longer than I was married. Longer than I've really done, longer than I was in school. It's the majority of my life has been spent working for Crutchfield, and it's just fantastic. My job has never been better. It's never been more rewarding, more fun, more lucrative, and more challenging, all at the same time. And find me another job where you can do it for 25 years, and that's still true in your 26th year. So I love what I do. I love who I work with and the company I work for, and not going anywhere. So this could be the start of the second half of my Crutchfield career. That could very well be the case. So thank you, Bill Crutchfield.
Thing number two.
Cake. I love Cake. I love Cake's album Fashion Nugget. Cake is a band, by the way, not a confectionery delight. I don't even know if that's the right term, but I love Cake, the band Cake. Now, I've heard a lot of Cake songs that are on other albums besides Fashion Nugget, and they're all great. But the album Fashion Nugget by the band Cake is one of my top 5 albums. I know all the words to all the songs. They are fun. They're lighthearted. Sometimes they're dark. Sometimes they do a cover song of a 70s disco hit. Sometimes they're dirty. Sometimes they're vulgar. And sometimes they're talking about Frank Sinatra, and other times they're talking about racing cars, and other times they're talking about Italian leather sofas and stick shift and safety belts. Those are just some of the songs. I just sort of when I listen to music in the car, I want something I can sing along with, and this is an album I can sing along with any song on it, and feel like I'm doing it justice. I don't feel like my voice is strong enough to sing along with Cake and feel good about it. And it's just a whole lot of fun. So I highly recommend this band and this album specifically. It's fantastic. Their version of I Will Survive is, there you go, is my favorite version of that song. In fact, I have to say I probably heard their version first before I heard the Gloria Gaynor original, I Will Survive. But yeah, I thought of it as a Cake song until I realized it was actually a song from the 70s. Anyway, Cake, Fashion Nugget. It's one of my favorite albums. Check it out.
Thing number 3.
The movie Airplane. I have recently, just today in fact, come across a person who has never seen the movie Airplane. And this is an adult male. So this person's 75 years old. I don't know if that's a reason to have not seen I don't know if that's a reason to have not seen Airplane, or a good excuse, or shameful. One of the three. I don't know. But my girlfriend's dad, Rick Osborne, has not seen the movie Airplane. And I should have known, because when I met Kiki, she hadn't seen the movie Airplane either, and I rectified that situation. I made sure my kids saw the movie Airplane fairly early on, as early as I could make that happen with my ex-wife. She wasn't into it. But as soon as someone tells me they haven't seen the movie Airplane, if I have any respect at all for that person, I basically force them to sit and watch the movie Airplane with me. And then I proceed to laugh at all the jokes before they even happen. And every time I see the movie Airplane, I pick up on a new joke that I hadn't really got before. And that was even the case today. I've seen the movie 20 or 30 times, and, well, there was a whole new joke in there for me that it just went over my head every single previous time I've seen this movie. The scene is in the cockpit. Leslie Nielsen, the doctor, and one of the stewardesses is trying to convince Ted Stryker to fly the plane, despite his hesitancy because he had a bad experience flying fighter jets in the war. And he says, I flew single-engine fighters in the Air Force, but this plane has 4 engines. It's entirely different kind of flying altogether. And the doctor and the stewardess say back to him, altogether, it's an entirely different kind of flying. I always thought it was funny that they repeated him. They said it, what he said, the way he said it, but I never figured out why they did it until today. Because he said all together, and they repeated it back all together. Like, that's the joke. God, the subtleties of that joke and the just ridiculousness of that joke all at the same time it's just genius. And the fact that it took me this many years to catch it is embarrassing, frankly. I first saw this movie when it came out in theaters. If I remember correctly, my parents had my Aunt Candy babysit me so they could go to a movie to see the movie Airplane. And my Aunt Candy took me out with her friends to see the movie Airplane. I would have been 6 years old. And I remember the movie Airplane like it was yesterday, seeing it when I was 6, and I could watch it again any day, anytime. It's an amazing movie, but it's an entirely different type of flying altogether. It's an entirely different type of flying. All right, that's it for my 3 things. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with my friend, Vegas comedian, Air Force helicopter repair guy, staff sergeant in the Air Force, Garrett Hall.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. There's no time for play.
Get up, it's a brand new day.
Garrett,
Yeah, what's up, man?
how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Do you even remember me at all? Do you know who I am?
Yeah, you came through. You came through New Orleans, did a little feature set for me one time.
That's right. I'm so psyched you even remember me. So I'm calling you and I'm recording this. And if you're up for it, if you have 10, 20 minutes to talk, I would love to put you on my podcast.
Sure.
Yeah, you're free?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. Dude, so the reason I thought of calling you is because I don't know when I'm going to get back to Vegas. I usually come there for CES, but you're the first person I think of whenever that's going to happen again. I'm going to reach out to you because you were the first person to book me, to pay me to do comedy in Vegas. And so
Yep.
I owe you big, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
We have your feature comic of the evening. Make some noise. Okay, cool. Your feature comic of the evening. Make some noise. There we go. Coming to the stage, please welcome Mr. J.R. Stoffel. Keep it going for Garrett Hall, my son, everybody. So excited to be here. I am JR. I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia. Yes, that Charlottesville, Virginia.
I was before I called you, while I was waiting for you to call me back, I was wondering if you have your own podcast, and I found the episode that you did on Ty Rivera's podcast.
Yeah, I did one on Ty Rivera's podcast. I've been on Nobody Likes Onions with Patrick Melton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've been on a few. Yeah, the Ty Rivera one is the more me-centric one.
Right. No, yeah. It seems like you two are good friends.
Yeah.
I got to see him do a feature set at least two different shows I was at in the couple different times I've done comedy out there in Vegas. That dude's the real deal, man.
Yeah, he's good stuff.
So one of the things I was thinking I wanted to know about you is you're the second person that I know that is in the Air Force and does comedy.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. The other person I know, his name is Chris Allen. He's a local here in Charlottesville. He actually lived in Vegas, was in the Air Force out there for a while, but just recently retired a couple years ago. And boy, he's living a very different life now that he's retired from the Air Force and doing comedy.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm very sure.
How does being in the Air Force and trying to do comedy, how does that work together for you? Are there things you can't do that you want to do, things that you are waiting to do when you're no longer in the Air Force? Like, what's that all about?
So the main thing, I would say the main positive from it, there's a massive positive from it being that in the military, you get 30 days of paid leave every single year.
Yeah.
And that keeps rolling over until you hit 45, I believe it is. And then, they'll cut it off after 45. But I have 30 days of paid vacation every single year. So I can, like, if I'm on the road or something, if I want to go, say, do what you did, come out to Vegas, or if I want to go, say, let's just throw out a city. If I want to go to Denver or something for 4 days, hit all their open mics out there, I can do that. And then a few months later, if I want to go to Salt Lake City, hit all their open mics, I can do that. I'm never on a work schedule to where I can't take the time off because I don't have the time off. I'll always have the time off. So that's the major positive. The big drawback is I could never just relocate. And also they could relocate me somewhere, say they called me, I could say I get an email tomorrow saying, we're sending you to Clovis, New Mexico. I'd have to go. And my comedy career would effectively be over until I get out of there.
Wait, there's not a huge scene in Clovis, New Mexico?
No, surprisingly enough, there's not a big open mic scene in the roaring metropolis of Clovis, New Mexico.
I've heard of a lot of towns. That's not one I've even heard of, so I can't imagine.
Based there, so that's the one that everyone's like, "Oh, please God, no."
That's the Air Force version of sending you to Alaska.
Yeah, essentially. But the problem is, like, Alaska, if you're in the Army or the Air Force, Alaska, they have a base in Anchorage. So I would be able to do more comedy in Alaska than I would
Yeah.
at that place.
Yeah, that's a real city. They probably
Yeah.
actually do have a comedy scene.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of at their mercy when it comes to that. But like I said, the 30 days of paid vacation every year is it's invaluable. I can't. That's helped my comedy career so much because, there have been people who I've gone on the road with simply because the first person they had, featuring for them couldn't take the time off work.
Right.
So I've got, and but yeah, the only negative, like I said, is the uncertainty of where I'm going to be, and I can't, like I said, I can't just relocate. Like, say, I wanted to go audition for something, and then I got a part in LA, I wouldn't be able to go out there and do it.
Yeah, you can't just put in your 2-week notice, right? It's not quite that simple.
Right, exactly.
Are you a lifer? Are you planning on being in the Air Force until you retire?
As of right now, simply because I joined when I was 19. So if I do 20 years in the Air Force, I retire at 39.
Yeah, man.
It's hard to say no to that,
Dude, that is so smart. You're gonna have like the whole second half of your life starting at 39, and
exactly,
and it's kind of paid for.
Yeah, exactly. So I can take a year off and just tour if I wanted to, and I would have the money to do that. Or if I wanted to just take 6 months and drive to every open mic in the country, I could essentially. But I'll start a second career after that, obviously. But it is really nice to have that backup plan, that safety net.
Yeah, man. Is there anything you can't talk about on stage because of your career, or does it really affect that at all?
Not really, man. I'm a mechanic, so it's not. They're not really giving me any of the nuclear launch codes or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm just out there working on the helicopters.
Helicopters, no kidding.
Yeah. I'm a helicopter mechanic.
That's awesome. My stepson is stationed in Okinawa. He's a staff sergeant on. He's been working on F-15s for years now, but I guess he supervises the people working on F-15s.
Yeah, well, I say I'm a mechanic. I don't work like that anymore. I'm a supervisor as well. I'm a staff sergeant. But good for him. Okinawa's a nice spot. But
yeah, he loves it. His wife, his 2 kids, they've got a house off base. He rides a motorcycle around. He's loving life out there. The weather seems really nice.
Yeah, it's like a tropical island off the coast of Japan.
Yeah,
pretty interesting. That's where I wanted to go after it because before Vegas, I was stationed in England. So
where in England? Lakenheath.
Yeah, Mildenhall.
Okay, yeah, my stepson was at Lakenheath for 4 years. I think I've got that right. Lakenheath, yeah. And yeah, he went from there to Okinawa.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. That's what a lot of people try and do. They're trying to stay overseas, but I got Vegas, which can't complain too much about.
So what has I follow a lot of you guys on Facebook, and so obviously the pandemic hit pretty hard out there, and I would imagine there wasn't much of a scene for a while. It seems like it's kind of coming back now, though. Is that true?
Yeah, Vegas is 100% open. The scene, there's a few bar shows that we were doing that decided they didn't want to show again once the pandemic ended. So I get that. It was a time to really look at all your stuff as far as being a business owner. So I get not wanting comedy back, but there are new shows popping up. So that's always good. We got new shows in new places. I think a new comedy club is going to open up out here in downtown Vegas. Yeah. So no one really knows anything about it. I just know that Pauly Shore moved out here and they painted his face on the side of the comedy club. So we'll see what that's all about.
Oh, wow. Well, he's got ties to one of the biggest comedy clubs ever, so he knows a thing or two about how that's supposed to work.
Yeah, I figured he would know a thing or two. I'm just hoping, with it being Vegas and all, that they work with the local scene too. But you never know. And yeah, we've got a bunch of new stuff popping up just since everything opened back up. So it's been cool. It's been
So
cool to see it bounce back.
so Noreen's is back up and running.
Noreen's is back up and running strong, man.
That
Sunday Fun Day back.
Yeah, man, that was the first show I did out there, and I loved that place. It was a it was a good stage. There was always a bunch of people in there, even if most of them were comics, because you guys, I had never seen anything like that before. I've done a bunch of open mics here in Virginia,
Yeah.
but they're all fairly tightly run, right? Like 15 to 20 comics, somewhere like that. That's kind of the max. And if we get too many, you're going to get 3 minutes at tops, right? And then I get to Noreen's, and I think the list was a mile long of like 50 comics, and then there was features along the way, and people were taking turns hosting. I had just never seen anything like that, and I got there at like 7, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going on till like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I had no idea what kind of a night I was in for.
Yeah, it's well, that's the thing. We've modified that a little bit now, but at first we were like, well, the bar doesn't close, so why should we close the list? And the thing that made Sunday Fun Day pop off was we told everyone, like, hey, this is a place for you to come do your set and then just hang out. Like, come hang out, develop relationships. I hate the word, but network with your fellow comedians. Y'all, because I guarantee there have been more good ideas between comics in the back of a bar than any boardroom where comics have met in. You know what I mean?
I mean, the hang is half of the reason to do comedy.
Exactly. And so we wanted to foster a place that would have a good hang, and that, anyone from it's your first time starting out doing open mics to you just got off stage at a club headlining, you can come through, do a 5-minute set, and work on some stuff. And we really have run the gamut of who all's come through there. We've had people with full on specials come by, and we've had people who, like I said, have done their first spot ever.
Who's the biggest name that you can remember coming through there?
Oh,
got any like
Hannibal Buress?
Oh, Hannibal Buress, that's big. Any like Mark Norman, Joe List, any of those guys?
No, none of those guys. Shane Smith, I don't know if you know Shane Smith. He had a really successful dry bar special. Got covered in tattoos.
Okay.
But yeah, he was a big one. Trying to think of some others that we might have had. I'd have to go back through, but yeah, last night for Sunday Funny, we had Big Irish Jay Hollingsworth, and he came out to do the feature spot, and did the feature spot, and then messaged me afterwards and said, "Hey, I was coming out here to do this and work on my opener and closer for my album that I'm recording next week." So
did he go up again?
No. He just did it in his 15-minute spot.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, it's we've had some great shows out there, and we've kind of cut it down to where we only do 30 comics now.
Okay.
So it's not a marathon like that anymore.
Yeah, man. It was the flip side of that was the production was so good. Like you and Ian, with him playing music and keeping that mic on the side, that was something I hadn't really seen too many, like on an open mic, to get that kind of treatment where there's a fun vibe with music in between the comics. Normally around here, the open mic is we just piggyback and announce each other, and there's not much as far as theme music or anything like that. But you guys, guys really made that fun.
Yeah, and that was the whole point, man, was just to make it fun, make it professional, make people want to come back, and make people want to just see it as a good spot to hang out and just keep the good vibe for comedy going.
Yeah. So the first night I was there, before the first year I was out there, when I just did an open mic spot, I met this guy named, I think his name was Furbo, and he was a weird sort of dude. He had a rainbow hat. He made no bones about being gay and talking about that. But he was also like recently relocated to Vegas after some sort of divorce. He had almost no money. And he was handing out cards and stuff. He was just a super weird guy. And I don't expect you to remember him, but it made me think, Do you see a lot of that kind of stuff in Vegas? People show up, it's they put on a show like they're gonna be there for the long haul, and then they disappear and you don't see them.
Oh yeah, man. I don't even know the exact guy you're talking about. His name was Kerbo.
Kerbo, that's it. I had the name wrong. Kerbo,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, his name was Kirby, and he went by Kerbo. But yeah, I remember him, and he did exactly what you said. He'd just come in there and tell everyone how gay he was, and
Yeah.
you know, really make any jokes about it, but he just would talk about it.
No, he said
But yeah,
he said he was going to though. Like he'd get up here, boy, I'm gay and I'm about to say some crazy shit, and then he'd be this like nothing crazy came out of his mouth at all. Like it was weird.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, there's been quite a few characters on the Vegas scene, because I mean it's Las Vegas. You've been here. I mean, you've been out to Fremont. You've been to the Strip. There's just characters everywhere. Something about this city attracts, you know, vagabonds and strange people. But you know, we've got guys out here. There's a guy who, if anyone has been to Vegas open mics, named King Tamer, and John King Tamer. He'll get up there, and he's been doing open mics for about 15 years and has never told a joke with a punchline.
What is he
Gets
just
up there.
just starts rambling on?
Yes, gets up there, talks about the weather, talks about who's leading the American lead in batting average, talks about if every one of his famous lines is there's enough space, there's enough land mass on this planet for every man, woman, and child to have their own acre of land. That's it. That's the joke. I don't even want to call it a joke. That's just what he says.
He's just delivering factoids.
Yeah, he gets up there and gives you little tidbits.
And you guys let him keep getting up? Is he just endearing and nice, or like what's going on?
Very nice guy. Truthfully, I think that's the only human interaction he gets. You know, for the entire week is going to open mics.
So it's outreach.
Yeah. There's other guys who you know are, you know, they'll show up and be like, I'm going to do all this on the scene. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to take over and do all. I mean, you've probably met the comics who like just show up and they started comedy probably 6 months ago and they're just full of hubris and think they're going to take over the world.
Yeah.
You know, a year later, they're still bagging groceries at Smith's and not even doing open mics anymore, but they're telling every girl they date that they're a stand-up comedian, you know?
Because they've done it a few times.
Yep. So there's a lot of that. And yeah, like you said, just oddballs. Yeah. Oddballs who come want to sign up. Vegas has no shortage of that. I would say probably New York and LA are the only places, maybe the Bay Area, but those are the only places who probably beat Vegas when it comes to weirdos that come out.
Right. Hey, so Vegas is basically like you said, 100% open. Like is is there social distancing? Is it just completely back to kind of normal?
Completely back to normal as of last week. So as of June 1st, mask mandate is over. Everything's back to 100% capacity. Yeah, we're all back, man.
So do you think I'll be able to come back out there for CES? Are they going to have a CES this year? Like I missed it last year.
Yeah, I was told it got moved to October this year.
Really?
Yeah, I was told it got moved later in the year. But I was also told that they're exploring just an online option.
Well, they did an online CES back in January when normal CES would have been, but nobody gave two shits about it because it was just all online.
Well, if you're not there to see the stuff, it's not going to be as impressive, you know?
Exactly. I mean, my job when I go there is we film videos about the new products that are made by the companies that we sell their products. So there was none of that to see. So
right.
We had no reason to go at all. So
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I hope to get back out there for sure. One, because just doing my job is fun. Two, everything else that you do there is fun. And three, it's one of the coolest comedy scenes that I've been into. I've been to Denver. I've done a couple stuff there. New York, DC, because I'm right outside of DC, and Vegas.
Right.
That's kind of it as far as how far I've gone yet. And Vegas is by far and away the one I look forward to coming back to the most.
Well, I'm glad, man. I'm glad. That is one thing that I hear from lots of comics who come from outside of Vegas. They'll be like, "Man, I was scared coming in here because there's a ton of comics and all of us are a little strange and a little out there." But they're like, everyone who comes through has been like, yeah, this is a very, very tight knit, friendly scene that a lot of people come back to. So I'm glad we've kind of fostered that and created that culture.
Yeah, man. And it was good seeing repeat people, like not just you, but Ian, Ryan Barassa, a couple, Ralph Tutela, a few other people. I still friends with them, and just keeping up with you guys, it feels like I'm still connected in some way. So
yeah, man. Yeah. Anytime you want to come back, we'll find you a spot. That's for sure.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, but I don't know if you've ever listened to my podcast. It's called Three Things with JR. In it, I just talk about three things. And when I call people out of the blue and put them on my podcast with zero warning whatsoever, I then put them on the spot to give me three things. And here's the three things. It's easy. Don't worry. No pressure. Okay. You're a comedian. You got this. Thing number one is just tell me something deep, something meaningful, something, maybe an epiphany you've had, any kind of deep thought that is rolling around in your brain right now.
Okay. Yeah. One that I've been thinking about a lot recently is, and not to get political or anything, but with all the stuff that's going on between people saying, oh, you got to be sensitive to certain groups and there's cancel culture and all that other stuff. I don't really see that as much as being as serious as a lot of people do. My view on things is when it comes to that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently is people who are good people don't have to keep reminding you that they're good people. Oh,
people who are good people don't have to keep reminding you they're good people. I dig that, man.
Right. Yeah.
No, their actions, their body language, just how they carry themselves does that for them.
Right. And, you can have disagreements with somebody, over politics or just anything. But at the end of the day, who's a solid person and who's not. You can agree with someone. They'll be like, I don't like them as a person,
Right. Yeah. And just, I love the ability to disagree with people and still maintain a friendship,
Yeah.
I've had to get over a bit of a hump with that kind of with my dad because we are so polar opposites in many of our beliefs. But I literally just had him on my podcast, and my relationship with my dad is probably better than ever right now. So
right.
It's pretty great.
And yeah, I when it comes to a lot of stuff, I'm in the military, but I'm also around I'm around artists and a lot of different types of people out here in Vegas, especially in the comedy scene. But, those two worlds kind of clash for me when it comes to my beliefs and the way I feel about things. So it is a lot of trying to see where people come from and trying to understand why they feel the way they feel about things. And at the end of the day, if people are good, that's all that matters.
Have you run into any side effects of that at your military job?
Yeah. Like, I'll just go ahead and say it. Like, I lean pretty far left when it comes politically, but, the military does not. A lot of people in the military don't.
Right.
So, if things like that get brought up, we have to, if we're discussing something and, someone doesn't see things the way I see them, you just have to understand that this is a conglomeration of people that are from all over the country that have a completely different life experience from me and from anyone else that room. So it's just such a different group of people, so many different groups of people, I should say, that are all mashed together. And you just got to know who's actually a good person deep down and who's not, and go past the surface of like, all right, why do they feel this way? What do they think? So that whole thing.
And is there room to do that with the people that you work with in the Air Force? Like, have you been able to sort of find some common ground and get, have a good relationship with somebody despite big time different beliefs?
Of course. Like I have supervisors and coworkers that are like the polar opposite of me, but we still have each other's back and we're still always going to look out for each other. And, we'll hang out and things like that.
And are you guys able to make fun of each other and have a good time with it all too?
Oh, of course.
That's huge. Like that's a huge coping mechanism for being around people you disagree with. If you can joke about that, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, because like today we were talking about we're talking about Pride Month at work, and somebody showed a meme, and the meme was a Bud Light fake Bud Light ad, and it said LGBT. It said let's get beers. It said LGBTQ. It said let's get beers together, queers. And one of my bosses was like, "Oh my gosh, somebody's going to be offended about that." And I'm like, you know what? That's like conservatives' favorite thing to do is just make up a guy to be mad at that doesn't exist a lot of times.
Right.
And we all started laughing about that, and it's just having a good time with one another and just ribbing each other a little bit.
Man, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear all that. No, that's great, dude. Thing number 1, nailed it. Thing number 2, tell me about something that's inspiring you right now. Could be a song, a band, an artist, a book, a movie, a TV show, anything like that that sort of got you wanting more.
Oh, something that's inspiring me. Well, something that inspired me recently, I reread, I should say, Be Here Now by Ram Dass. And it's his book. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's his book about, yeah, he was a kind of one of the guys who did the Harvard LSD trials.
Oh.
Yeah, so he did that, and then he just like picked up everything and went to India on a spiritual quest, and had his life changed. And he was a guy, just a professor at Harvard named Richard Alpert, and he just came back and he's like, "Nope, I'm Ram Dass now. I'm going to like dedicate my entire life to enlightenment and love," and giving all these talks. And yeah, just the simplicity of some of the stuff he says in his book, and even the book title, just "Be Here Now."
Oh, that's kind of, no, that title speaks to me. I mean, that's kind of how I live my life. And I've heard of Ram Dass. I've heard the name, but I literally had no idea who that was, what that meant. And thanks to you, now I do, and I'm kind of interested. I might have to look into that.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's a lot. It's just, like I said, it's just his story about how he went from this Harvard professor to a spiritual yogi, essentially.
Yeah. All right. Thing number 3. Just tell me something stupid.
Something stupid. Okay. Let's see. Let me think here.
Surprisingly enough, this is always the hardest one for people.
Yeah, because it just really depends.
It can be a bit you're working on, a bit that's working for you. If you're a comedian, you got a leg up on just normal people that I asked to do that, right? Because you maybe have bits ready to go, but maybe not. I don't know.
Here's something stupid. You ready? I'm a big fan of the UFC, and next week is there's going to be two title fights on the UFC card. It's going to be the middleweight title fight, and it's also going to be the men's flyweight title fight. So the men's flyweight is 125 pounds, right?
Little shrimpy guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't know this person was a UFC fighter and you saw them in a bar and they started talking shit to you, could you imagine being around your friends and getting the absolute shit kicked out of you by a 125-pound man?
By this skinny little dude. Is he skinny?
Yeah. Oh, tiny.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Could you ever come back from that?
No, you'd have to find all new friends.
Exactly. You'd have to move to a new city.
New city, a new bar. And you'd have to close your Facebook account, your Instagram, everything. You'd have to start fresh. Like it'd be like going into witness protection.
Yeah, these guys are 5'2", 125 pounds, and I know for sure they would whoop my ass because they've been training their whole lives.
Yeah,
but you can't explain that to your friend group. You could never explain it to them.
No, but seriously, guys, he was really talented.
He's a world champion MMA fighter. Yeah. He's still 5'2", 125 pounds.
I know I look strong, but this guy had me, I'd tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that's perfect. I can't thank you enough for just blindly taking the time out of your day to talk to me, to be on my podcast. The fact that you remembered me means a lot. I really can't wait to see you guys again. I hope we get to do a CES in January, and if so, you'll be my first call.
Dude, I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Yeah, anytime you're coming through, let me know. We'll find you a spot, even if it's not at Noreen's. We will find you a spot out here, bud.
Dive Bar, Noreen's. What's that? There's a couple pizza places. Ryan Barassa had a show at one. I mean,
oh yeah, Sand Dollar. That was
Sand Dollar. Yes, that was a fun place.
We'll get you in touch with everybody who you need to get in touch with out here.
Awesome, man. Anything you want to plug?
Not really. You can check me out on Instagram at G-Hall Comedy. TikTok, same thing. I post a couple of videos. My TikTok is mostly just stand-up clips and working out. Yeah, it's follow Sunday Fun Day Comedy on Facebook if you have that, and that's about it.
Awesome, man. I'll put this out on Facebook. I'll put it out this episode. I'm going to edit this thing and drop it tonight, and I'll tag you in the Facebook post if you don't mind. Share it out, man. I'm trying to grow this podcast, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to.
Dude, thanks again, man. Have a wonderful night, and hopefully I'll see you in January.
Yes, sir. You too. Have a good one.
See you, Garrett.
Bye.
Right on. That was my interview with Garrett Hall at G Hall Comedy on Instagram and TikTok. Check him out. Seriously funny dude, and just a super nice guy. I called him out of the blue. I've not spoken with Garrett since being in Vegas in January of 2020. So right before the pandemic hit, and he booked me on the show there, and it was amazing. And he remembers me, and I remember him, and we were friends on Facebook, and I just figured I'd try him, and he didn't answer. He actually, his phone, it sounded like he did answer, but maybe he was driving or something, and then he hung up. I was like, shit, I guess I'm not going to talk to him tonight. Then he texted me right back that he was walking his dog. He'd call me back in 10 or 15 minutes. And sure enough, he did. Unbeknownst to him, when he called me back, he was going to be on this show that was a podcast. And he just rolled with it. And man, just had a good time. I hope you enjoy listening to that. We'll be back next week with who knows who. I have no idea. You'll find out right after I find out. This is Three Things with JR, over and out. See you next week. Love you.
It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day.